It was in this church in 1984 that the UDF launched its first defiance campaign of the 1980s. And there would be subsequent defiance campaigns, but it was also in this church that we held the church service where we called on all our banned and house-arrested comrades to come here and declare that they will unban themselves despite the government. And I will never forget, Mama Dorothy Chislanga was the first one. She sat in that first row where I was sitting all afternoon. And she stood up and she declared herself unbanned. And then she brought the paper that she got from the police. She tore it up and she put it on that table. That was the spirit of that time. And that is a spirit that I believe has not died, but can be revived. And if it is revived, it must find a home. And that home can be you as we meet here today. I've been traveling around the country and there is a stirring in the nation. I can see it, I can feel it. There's a fire burning everywhere. And if you have done right by yourselves and by your communities and by our people, you will have brought that fire with you today to this meeting. So we are here today in response to a call from the faith communities. You have just heard the declaration that you have applauded. But not only a response to a call from faith leaders, it is also a response to the cries of our people and in response to the longings for justice and freedom that God Almighty has planted in our hearts. We have said that this is once again a Kairos moment, so a moment of truth for all of us, a moment of discernment. And that, I believe, is absolutely necessary. There is, everywhere we look, there are people coming together. We hear of the one meeting after the other. There have been a few conventions of the people that have been held already. There are more political parties than I can count. Almost 200 at this point. And of course, some of it may very well be that this is a sign that people in our country can no longer deny the depth and the seriousness of the crisis that we are facing as a people. And it means that when people see the crisis that they are facing and they no longer deny it, that they may be ready for something new. But we call for discernment because we know that not everyone who raises their hand today to say, I will help you, I will lead you, not everyone is the right person. Not everyone has the right motives. Not everyone has the interest of all our people at heart. It's like the Bible says, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. And so it's a time for discernment. Who speaks the truth? Or who allows the lies to continue? Discernment. Who is just opportunistic, looking for their own interest, and who is working on behalf of all our people? Discernment is necessary. Who of these voices that we hear are out simply to entrench themselves in the old corrupt system of politics that the Declaration has condemned? And who dares to stand up for truly revolutionary transformation of our society and of our politics? Discern, men. Who is there for the redistribution of social goods and power to all our people? Or who is there simply for self-enrichment? For politics in South Africa today is not a calling nor a service. It's not even a job. It's simply the quickest way to become as wealthy as possible. And that has to change, and it has to change right now. We hear all sorts of voices talking about the power that is within civil society, that is within you. All sorts of voices that calls upon us to recall and remember those days of the 1970s and the 1980s, and they even mention the name of the United Democratic Front, and they talk as if they were there. If I would listen to all of them and I would count and remember those who were on the streets, I am missing about 3 to 4 million people who say they were there and who never were there. And so you have to have discernment. And when I hear, and all these political parties, from the DA to the Freedom Front, I heard Dr. Corneille Mulder calling upon people in that conference in Sandton that they had to say, you remember those days when we formed the United Democratic Front? And I thought, the Here moet me maar vergeven, but I had a dirty word in my mind. This is the man whose father sat in the cabinet of P.W. Botha, where they decided to shoot our children, to send the dogs in, to send the tear gas, to put us in prison, and to kill our children. And this is the man who is calling for you to remember the spirit of the UDF. It's discernment. Who is standing for the truth and who is perpetuating the lie? And there are some from the ANC who called on the spirit of the UDF, and I was only wondering, how is it possible that those people whose number one priority when they came back in 1990 and 1991, the 91 priority was to kill the United Democratic Front? And how can those who wanted to kill the UDF now call for the revival of the UDF? It does not make sense to me. Discernment is what we need. And I said, this needs a home. I'm hoping that what we are doing here today is to build a home for that spirit to come to rest and to find the kind of life and connectedness that will make our people not only see the crisis but also see the kairos. Many of you know Chairman Mao of China. Chairman Mao will not mind that I quote him in church today. During the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s, when things were crisis upon crisis in China, Chairman Mao said this. He said, there is devastation under the heavens. Crises are everywhere. And then he stopped, and then he added, the opportunities are excellent. Which means that when you recognize the undeniability of the crisis we are in, it is also the moment where the people's hopes have their biggest and greatest potential. That is the moment you must see. That is the moment you must decide. That is the moment you must grab with both hands. And if you are not here today to do just that, I wonder what you are doing here. You might as well go home and go watch rugby or something like that. But we are serious today, my brothers and sisters, because the situation is serious. And we are here together like we have been before, to come together, to be together, to pray together, to work together, to stand together, to walk together, to march together, to take our people with us together, to rise up together, to reclaim our own agency, to make right what has gone wrong. And I believe that everything that has gone wrong or has been done wrong by those in power can be made right by those right in this church today. Let not worry about how we can do it. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt your power. I used to say we don't have leadership with vision, but we don't have any leadership at all, and that's our problem. These are the blind leading the blind, and they are not blinded because they cannot see. They are blinded from looking at their money from morning till night and not knowing how to look their people in the eye. That's the problem. That's the problem. We are indeed ruled by a bunch of criminals, a spoil rampokers, said the Afrikaans, who know no restraint, no responsibility, and no accountability. We did not fight for that. We are forced to live under a justice system that should have been what this Constitution had promised us. But we have a situation where there is one law for the rich and the powerful, and there is another law for the poor and the powerless. We did not fight for that. We have to be content to live under a new liberal capitalist system that puts profits before people always. A system that wages war upon the poor from morning till night. A system for which generational impoverishment and generational unemployment and generational socio-economic inequalities are an essential necessity. It cannot survive without that. That's the system that was not forced upon us. That's the system that we chose. That's the system that they agreed upon in those backdoor deals between 1985 and 1989. And they come and tell us you will have CODESA. CODESA, in that sense, was only political theater. It was not serious with our people's future in mind. We did not fight for that. Socioeconomic inequalities we heard. And I keep on reminding people that there was this report from that organization in Britain called Oxfam in 2020 that focused on the effects of socio-economic inequalities the world over. Oxfam says that socio-economic inequalities all on their own, not floods and natural disasters or fires or even a pandemic like COVID. Socio-economic inequalities on their own are taking the lives of 22,000 people every day globally. That is one person every 4 seconds who dies not of floods, not of illness, and inequality. 1, 2, 3, 4, a mother dies. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, a father dies. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, a baby dies. Count them. What does it say when we know that South Africa is the most unequal society on the face of the earth? I'll tell you what it means. It means that last year we have to read in our newspapers that in a 14-day period, 15 babies and toddlers died of hunger in the Eastern Cape. I'll tell you what it means. It means that just the other day, a 34-year-old mother killed her children and then killed herself because she could not stand the fact that they had nothing to eat. That's what it means. That's your country. Under your billionaire president and his cabinet, that's your country, where a president and his cabinet and parliamentaries can give themselves a raise even as though they do not earn 1.3 million rand a year, and you have to survive on nothing. That is what it means. We did not fight for that, and that needs to end, and it needs to end now. We have to be clear. We have to start anew. We cannot live with the consequences of secret talks and secret deals that were made with the old white capitalist apartheid establishment. And that is now continued in different ways, even in the present government. We have to realize that there are forces at work in this country, and they are not at work for the interest of our people. And it simply means that we have to understand that when people in parliament stand up and when people in cabinet stand up, they do not speak with the voice of their people. They speak with the voice of those who have made them rich and who keep them rich. You've got to get Stellenbosch out of the union buildings. That's what we need to do. We've been accused of being too critical of our political system, too critical of our political parties, and too critical of our government. We are accused of being anti-ANC. Some people have even accused me of being pro-DA or something like that. Well, I have no reason to be pro any political party. I see no political party that is genuinely there for the upliftment and the development and the safety and the security and the prosperity of our people. They're all there for themselves. They are serving in a toxic political environment, in a culture of corruption, and they cannot save themselves. They cannot self-correct. Get that out of their mind and out of your mind. There's no such thing as a self-correcting political party. They have to be corrected by us, and they have to be taken out if necessary. Some political parties, and the DA is among them, I think they are fundamentally racist, and they seek to hide their racism sometimes behind fancy words, pseudo-academic terms like meritocracy. And they use that word without any honest historical context, without any political or socio-economic context, as if everybody starts from the same place in life, as if South Africa had no past, as if South Africa had no colonialist past, as we had no imperialist past, as if there was no such thing as racism that put people with a white skin 100 yards before everybody else. Then they talk about meritocracy. You do not come there by merit. You have to work 10 times as hard as anybody else to even get to the starting point, never mind past the post. And so we have to be honest about that. And what is more deplorable, I think, is that they are predators, these political parties, the DA included, because they prey on the legitimate aspirations of people that have been frustrated by the African National Congress in the last 30 years. They are preying upon the legitimate grievances of the so-called colored people because of the policies that the ANC has engendered over the last 30 years, not only disclaiming you as a part of this nation, but even denying the fact that so-called colored people are even African. And that taking away of your Africanness is dislodging you from your heritage, is dislodging you from this country, is dislodging you from this continent, is dislodging you from your family who are here next to you in this church today. Everybody here, we are family, we share the same DNA. South Africans, all of us together are the most Creole people in the whole world. You walk around with 198 strains of DNA in your blood in South Africa. That's who we are. And that's why my name is Busakwe when I get to the Eastern Cape. And that's who we are. Why do they come and they tell you that survival, your humanity depends on getting everybody else out of this country? That is not right. And that is not who we are. So I don't know why you vote for a party that has kept Cape Town split into there is no Cape Town. There is a white Cape Town and then there is a black Cape Town. And you can guess where the wealth and the opportunities lie. Let me just say one more thing and then I'll be done with these political parties. And I think the DA is not just a political party. The DA is the most successful new colonialist project on the continent of Africa. And so when you think about these things, think about what that means. It's not about being anti-ANC, it's about being anti all these political parties who never do what they promise, who lie to our people every single day, and who are not of all of the intention to make sure that this country is, like Albert Luthuli hoped and prayed and worked for, a home for all our people. Not so long ago, I was asked by the youth of the Uniting Presbyterian Church in South Africa to speak to them, and the subject that they gave me, Sister Monica, was the plight of our democracy. What have we lost? And when you think about that, there's a lot that we have lost. We've lost our reality of non-racialism, something that used to be part of our lives in every struggle since the Black Consciousness Movement and the United Democratic Front. Our people have never been as racist as we are now in the last 30 years. And we have to be careful. Ethnic and tribal politics have never been as rife as they are now. The easy hatred of one another has never been as easy as it is now. We have to be careful where we go with that. That is a snake that you are nurturing in your bosom. It's a fire that we are carrying around us, and that fire will rise up and consume us if we are not careful. And so we've lost that. I think we've lost also, I told the youth, the opportunity to show white people what real democracy was. Because they never knew real democracy during apartheid. They never knew real peace of mind during apartheid. They never knew what it meant to be a true South African amongst other South Africans during apartheid. And there was the opportunity that we had, that we could come together as a people, black and white, and learn from one another and build this new democracy together. thinking back over the last 30 years, is our feelings of self-respect and dignity. Every time we see corruption clear as day, and we do nothing about it, we lose something of our self-respect and our dignity. Every time I hear what that mama told me from Samora Mashal squatter camp, and she brought a picture with her, a picture of a rat as big as a small cat. And she said to me, I have a problem, I have a dilemma. And my dilemma is I cannot afford those large blankets that can keep my children warm and safe. And so she says, I buy the cheapest blanket, but when they pull it over their heads, the rats eat their toes, and when they pull it over their feet, the rats nibble at their ears. And so my dilemma is, which end shall I leave open tonight? If that is a mother's dilemma, we lose our self-respect and our dignity. Every time politicians give themselves a raise while our people die of hunger, we lose self-respect and dignity. Every time our elderly have to go to the SASSA office, and they have to come there and find that there is no money, their money, that they have worked for all their life, because some civil servant on top of his salary has stolen their money. We lose self-respect and dignity. Every time I hear, as I've been told last week by my friends sitting here in the church, they're in the Northern Cape, they went to the clinic, and they remember now our people have to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning to stand in line so that they can get help when they finally get their chance. And they get there and they are told with their diabetes that there is no medicine. It did not come. Who is responsible for that? Every time that happens, we lose self-respect. We lose dignity. And it's time that we do something about that. And that time is now that we have to do that. We make a choice today for the politics of justice and compassion, rather than for the politics of self-enrichment and greed. Make a choice today for the politics of decency and honesty and integrity and courage and virtue and faith, rather than the politics of self-enrichment and of self-destruction. Make a choice today. Make a choice not just for the exercising of your vote, but to reclaim your voice, because that is what will make a difference. Make a choice for renewed activism, and not just for that apathy that has paralyzed us for 30 years. Make a choice for standing up and forgetting all of the excuses that we have thought about for 30 years, because your children are looking at you and saying, if you have known this for 30 years, why are we still where we are? Today, make that choice. Today, make the choice to wake up. Make the choice to stand up. Make the choice to arise and to arise and to arise and to never give up, never give up, never give up, because you know who you are. You know who has brought you to this day. You know that we can change this country. You know that we can turn ourselves around. Our people are depending upon you. Your children are looking at you today. And those young people in the corner right there, I'm looking at you. We will not shame you. We will not leave you behind. We will not walk away from you. We will stand with you. We will make sure you have a future, just that we all know today. We will arise. We're making that choice today. We're making that choice today. We are making that choice today. Thank you. God bless you.